Welcome back to another weekly analysis video. This analysis is for the week of February 8th, 2026. We'll start off with a weekly review of last week's price action and then move on into the analysis for next week. And as you can see here, I went into the week with a neutral bias. Okay? And I had a slight bearish undertone alongside that neutral bias. And if you recall, my concern was we came up to 26,244, rejected off of that. We formed this wick, and then the next candle afterwards on Friday, January 30th, we absorbed most of that wick. And my concern was here, that because it had done that, I had to see how we needed to react off this. And that if it were to go through this and really not have a lot of reaction, that we would slide lower. And that's exactly what we did this week. Price was seeking out these lows here, and it looks like it tried to reach this one and then use this stop run area relative to the 24,057 level to repel away from that. So we did have a slide lower this week, which I had a neutral bias, but I was leaning on the bearish side and not the bullish side. And I had said that in my weekly analysis video for this week. Now, going forward, and we'll discuss what should happen going forward. If we remain in this area, we could consolidate. But if price comes back up into here, we could see some resistance and another move lower. It just depends on how we react at certain levels and going into the time parameters or going into how we behave around those as well. I haven't discussed the time parameters yet, and I also want to briefly touch up on later in the month of February. I'm going to have a bit more time to be able to produce more videos, more content, and discuss more topics that I want to discuss. So that way, going into the third and fourth quarter of the year, we're all on the same understanding of how these levels work in conjunction with the time parameters. Okay, so to recap, we had our neutral bias going into the week with a slight bearish undertone. We slid lower this week, trying to reach for this low here and repelled away using the stop run area relative to the 24,057 level. Let's go ahead and move on into the hourly chart. Okay, and moving on to the hourly chart here, we have the open here, Sunday, February 1st, 1800. Price initially had a gap down into the equilibrium range of our stop run area, repelled away from that, and then came back up into the equilibrium range of this range here, 26,244 to 25,515. Displaces away from that. Notice the displacement candle here. It moves lower past this low and this low in here. Okay, once we start breaking down below 25,515 again, it's most likely going to target this low and that low as well, and that's exactly what we did. We've come into the stop run area relative to 24,057, and we've repelled away from that. So we're looking to see how we behave in here and go forward. Let's go ahead and move on to the 15-minute chart. Okay, and on to our 15-minute chart. I want to draw your attention right in here where price, remember, displaces away from this area past 25,515. Goes through its stop run area, but notice how it comes back into it and consolidates within it and above it. Then price starts breaking down through it in here, which was the indices open right in here. We start to see price displace away from that, and this is your sign that price wants to move out of this stop run area relative to 25,515 and move into the equilibrium portion of this overall range in here, which set up a nice trade overall for a day trade for this particular day, which was Wednesday. Okay, so that was the trade of the week that was taken. So with that being said, overall we had a bearish week. I was going into the week with a neutral bias with a slightly bearish undertone, and we saw it pan out, but again, I have these biases, and then what I do is I wait for more information. I get the information that's required, and then I go ahead and execute. With that being said, let's go ahead and move on into the weekly analysis for the week of February 8th, 2026. Okay, we're back on our daily chart here for the weekly analysis for the week of February 8th, 2026. And going into the week, I do have a bearish bias. However, I need to see price get away from this area in here. It can come back to the top of this level here, which is 25,515. I'd rather it not do that. I want to just see it run away from this area in here. Now, this is a stop run area relative to the 26,244 level. And if we start climbing above 25,515, it may want to either consolidate at the upper portion of this range or within the range itself, or reach back up into 26,244. I do not want to see it really come back here. I just don't. I'd rather see it have resistance in here, maybe consolidate a bit, and then have another round of distribution. That's what I'd like to see, targeting 24,057 and maybe in here, which has these lows in it. Okay, so I am going in with a bearish bias, but again, I have a bearish bias, but as always, I'm waiting to see how the market opens, and I wait for the market to confirm my bias. Okay, so with that being said, let's go ahead and move on into the hourly chart. Okay, on to our hourly chart now. We see these highs in here, which price has taken out, and ideally I'd like to see it move away from those highs and out of this area lower. Okay, that's what I'd like to see. I don't like the overall structure of this. This looks like a market maker buy model, to be honest. And I don't want to see it come any higher than 25,515. Ideally, it shouldn't do that. It should just get away from here and run lower. But it can come back up to 25,515 and then go lower. Again, I'd rather not see it do that, but it can do that. If it comes back to 25,515, I'm going to be really hesitant on going short until I see it really get away from that area and come back aggressively into here, which if it comes back aggressively into here, it's probably going to move through it again. So again, it's just about weighing things out, seeing how it behaves, where it's at right now, and going forward. Alright, and on to our 15-minute chart here, a more refined view. We see these highs taken out, and again, I just want to see it get away from this area in here and move lower. If it doesn't do that, it will target 25,515, or it could just consolidate in the middle of this overall range. Again, it's all about weighing things out. I know that this was a very brief analysis for this week, but I don't have a lot of time at the moment. I will be gaining more time. Excuse me. I will be gaining more time at the end of February, and things will free up, and I'll be able to actually pour a little bit more effort into these and create more videos on topics that I want to discuss. And I have a whole list of what I want to do. So with that being said, that's going to conclude the weekly analysis for the week of February 8th, 2026. As always, take care, and God bless.